Welcome back. So before the end of this week, the Fulton County judge overseeing the case against the former president Donald Trump and his allies is expected to announce his decision on whether District Attorney Fani Willis will be disqualified from the case. Joining us here live in studio to discuss, we have attorney, legal analyst Holly Waltman. Thanks so much for being with us. So, of course, the first thing, Holly, that everyone wants to know, what is this judge going to decide? What are the predictions here in the legal community about the chances of Ms. Willis being disqualified?
Well, as we know, Joy, this is a new judge to the Fulton County bench, so it's a little unsure really where his head is at and what he took away from that hearing as the most important points. We have an option for him to grant the defense motion in full, which would not only remove Fani Willis and the DA's office, but it also would dismiss the indictment completely. Now, that is probably unlikely. I think something in the middle is probably more likely, especially considering the amount of time that has gone past the closing arguments and when we're actually getting the judge's decision.
Now, earlier this week, we reported to our viewers here on Atlanta News First and Peachtree TV that the Judge McAfee, overseeing this case, actually dismissed 6 of the 41 charges in this election interference case. Some legal analysts, I've heard people have different opinions, but some have said maybe that's an indicator that Ms. Willis would remain on the case. Does it have any bearing whatsoever?
Well, I think strategically, perhaps, if you look at it from the lens of the court using its time most valuably, then perhaps it could be a foreshadowing decision that gives us an indication of where the judge is. However, the decision that he came to dismiss these charges is completely separate from the motion that was filed on behalf of a co-defendant in the Trump case to disqualify both the DA and dismiss the case as a whole. The motion that he granted, the charges that are dismissed as a result of this are in reflection of the indictment and the deficiencies that he found in the words or the language that the prosecution chose to put in their roadmap for this case.
And just kind of a reminder for our viewers that the whole reason we've seen this kind of disqualification process, these hearings, and now this impending decision is because of a motion filed by Ashley Merchant, an attorney for one of the co-defendants. And it really had 2 parts. One was to disqualify Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade, among others, but the other part of it was to drop all the charges.
Certainly. And again, like I was saying, I think that we will all be very shocked if this motion is granted in full, which would absolutely take away the indictment completely, as well as the office that has produced the indictment through the special grand jury process. It does not preclude future prosecutions by a different office, perhaps, or through a different charging document altogether. We'll just have to wait and see exactly what Judge McAfee decides.
Yeah. So also this week, at the same time as we're awaiting this decision, the judge, the governor actually came in and signed into law a bill which specifically has to do with prosecutorial oversight. And it's really interesting. So Senate Bill 332 actually creates some rules and procedures for the Prosecuting Attorneys Qualifications Commission, which was already a pre-existing agency. It was formed last year, and it was meant to ensure that prosecutors fulfill, quote, constitutional and statutory duties. But critics say this is, it's partisan, it's a Republican-created agency, and this is part of a so-called witch hunt against Willis in particular. I know you're a criminal defense attorney, Holly, so you must have some feelings about prosecutorial discretion and oversight.
Yeah, certainly. Enjoyed Georgia prosecutors and prosecutors around the country for a long time have enjoyed prosecutorial immunity, meaning no matter what, right? If there's a flagrant overstepping of their job, of their discretion, they have immunity from any personal liability. And that is something that is unique to prosecutors. Defense attorneys don't have that privilege. And so, of course, from my camp and from my perspective, I think prosecutorial oversight is a great thing. The timing of it, of course, gives everybody else on the other side something to talk about. But I do think it's also noteworthy to point out that Governor Kemp is the person that appointed Judge McAfee in this case. He also participated with Fani Willis's office in the pre-investigation process of this case prior to the indictment.
And just for balance and contextual purposes, I will point out that Governor Kemp also announced this week that he does support Mr. Trump for re-election. Nevertheless, it sounds like you think this is not a partisan agency and really this law is needed.
A criminal defense attorney in Georgia is always going to welcome prosecutorial oversight. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Holly Waltman, joining us live here in studio. We are still waiting for the judge to announce his decision about District Attorney Fani Willis. If you download our free Atlanta News First mobile news app, that'll get you push alerts, and that'll tell you as soon as that decision comes down. Of course, we're going to bring you breaking coverage. All right. Let's